Hello, it's Leo, and as I continue my journey on recording my life on video cam, I I am I've been quite happy with the previous videos that I've recorded, and I'm enjoying them actually. I enjoy writing also. Boy, writing takes so long sometimes, boy, we can just chat. So this format is really helpful. Be able to get some things out. I can put it off, put it on, continue to put it in writing later on. I grew up in the church, and the first time I became aware of myself, I remember very clearly my mom walking with me. I was on her shoulder here. Was her left shoulder. It was her left shoulder. My head rested on her left shoulder. The church was like just a couple of chains, if you know what chains are, less than a quarter mile away from home. It was called Bamboo Church. So as I remember, Faith Lane, that's where I lived, corner of Faith Lane and Kennepan. And then just a few yards, probably 100 yards or more, 100 meters or more, the church, Bamboo Church, was in a lady named Mrs. Sterling. They call her Sister Baby. It was her yard that church was. And so I remember going to that church and, learning most of the goodness of and the godliness of religion and right and wrong and your early learning. And but as I grew, I moved from church to church. But this particular church was a foundation, and within by the time I was about 6, we had started. The church moved, so it moved from where it was on Kennepan to Avenues, where there's a big church right now. Being a part of that foundation when the church started moving. We went broke stone and carry stone and put filler. Laying the foundation for the church. We had lots of people who impacted my life then. Sister Baby was one of them. Sister Riddell, she was the older of us, but she was one of us. She actually taught me later on in secondary school. There were people like Miss Daisy, Mrs. Broderick, Miss Gloria. All of these people from Kennepan, they impacted your life in some way or the other. And I recalled, right across that from the church, Bamboo Church, up the hill was Mother Garden Church. Mother Garden Church, there's something static about it. I've never been in the church before. It was somewhat kind of a revival, Pocomania type of church, and so the one static thing in my mind is it wakes you up in the morning at 6 o'clock, right? So the drum beats at 6, boom. I can hear it right now, no, boom, 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 boom. At 6 o'clock in the morning, you have to get up to that sound, And in 6 o'clock in the evening, the same thing, So it becomes static in your mind because that's the way the drum sound. And other people who have impacted my life is Mr. Laws, who's in the same yard as we are, as I grow. And he had a what do you call it? A farm. a couple of miles up the street, up in the area, and we'd go to the farm with him and come back home. So he'd go up every day. We learn to plant yam and cocoa and reap sweet potato and him love to cook. So when we go, him cook enough food and the beauty that I hold in my mind these days, the beauty of bush cooking is elevated to me with Mr. Lars, right? So when we go bush and go cook, whole heap of yam and dumpling and banana and him have saltfish when him boil in there, and then him take the saltfish and put in a pot with oil and him cook it down with onion and stuff, and you're ready. So you take all of the food and spread out about 3 or 4 banana leaves, right? The big banana leaves. Him singe them over the fire first, and him lay them out and throw the food. And we had a buffet: dumpling, yam, banana, dasheen, cocoa, anything you want. And the dumpling them big, and them have caramel in them. And they tell a story about me that I still hear Basil and Barry talk about that I ate so much, because food was my thing, I ate so much that I couldn't move. And they had to roll the food out of me. So I threw up. Oh boy. But I remember those days quite clearly. Today, up to today, people still think that I am a part of the Laws family. So they call me Laws. I go to a rock and say, Laws boy, what's up, that kind of thing. But because we're so close. And so, that part of my growing up was quite, it's so different and so nice to think about. It obviously was very rough, politically, Lord gosh. Rockabessa was always a complete PNP tone. When I was there, it had never lost to JLP. And so, when the caravans would pass, them call it caravan, the political caravans and pass through, you see these guys on the truck and you would jump on with them and you travel around and make noise and thing. Them days, JLP never used to have caravans coming through Rockabessa because there was hardly any JLP there. But I've had some experience, speaking of truck, that there was, I just found out his name the other day. There was a guy all the way up in Airy Hill. He used to take trash or rubbish or garbage from the hotel and put it in the back of his flatbed truck. His flatbed with probably about at the sides have about a 1 foot or a 2 foot, siding. And I thought I was gonna die, man. I'm telling you. I saw all of my friends jump on this truck, right? Because we were coming from somewhere up in the bush. We went looking for mangoes or something like that. We were coming back home, and Mr. Hines truck. Is it Hines? No, it's not Hines. I forgot his name. But his truck was coming down and we all jumped on it. And when we got close to where we were going, this was the first time I've ever hopped on a truck, because I don't do things. If you know me very well throughout my life, to jump on a truck would be something wrong for me. Where my mom bring me up, right? To curse bad words was like a no. I never cursed my first bad word until I was about 20, right? And so when I jumped on the truck, this is my first time going on the truck. It felt good to be on the truck, but I always wondered for that time, the 2 miles, I was wondering, how the hell, if this truck doesn't stop, how am I going to get off? Because I don't know. And so Um, when it got close to what we call bridge, where all the boys jumped off the truck, me the only one left on it. And I didn't know what to do. So the truck, because that part of the road is smooth now, it's starting to speed up because all this time coming down, the road was rocky, so it kind of traveled very slow. And me, I'm supposed to jump off now, and I don't know how to jump off. By right, you're supposed to jump off and run so that you speed up with the truck. And then I jumped off and stopped. Man, I knocked my head. I thought I was going to die. I felt all kinds of stuff coming up in my stomach. I mean, I've had such, that was just a bad experience for me. And other bad experiences, I think I told you how mom used to go to the hotel and sell clothes. We used to come back up to the front of the hotel to take a bus home. And I saw, behind us were some shrubs on the hill. I don't know why I was throwing rocks in those shrubs. But next thing I found, I was in the hospital. And when I woke up, I was this swollen and big. Mom said that a wasp nest fell on me. So I was throwing the rocks, and all the wasps just came down on me. And she had to fan them away. She got a couple of bites too. The next thing I was in the hospital. And so since then, I don't know if I developed some kind of negative effects on wasp or bee bites. But ever since then, every time I get a bite or stung by a bee, it's like my chest and my breathing stops. And so I have to be very careful about, so it might be my brain, or I develop some kind of negative effects against those kind of things. As you grow up, when you get those kind of bites, you're supposed to develop, resistance. but me, so I guess I developed some kind of weakness to it, and so but those are some ills of my youth. I also remember though we were the poorest, my dad was not home every day. He would come home like on weekends, because he'd work in Montego Bay. He was a chef. He'd work right across the North Coast. And I remember back in about 65, when I was a kid, 65, 66, we got a TV. And we were the only family in the entire Arokobesa with TV. And at that time, they were running the cable for electricity up to our home. But there wasn't any light. It was just the wires came up. And because they were bringing wires and electricity in, for many years, inside of the yard, there were two reels, really big reels of that they rolled the wire off, and then they dropped it in our yard. And we just used it as seats. So my mom would put the TV on the window next to our bed for the entire community to come in and watch, like Hayo Silver and Green Hornets and Bonanza and Star Trek. Those movies from way back in the 60s. Most of them being black and white. And so I recall, my friend Claude has a story to tell people that I used to charge them to come there, but I don't remember that. I remember having the TV, and I remember TV being one channel. It was JDC, we only had just a few hours of TV at the time. It was like, sorry, TV would sign on at 4 p.m. But between 4 and 5, nothing was there. You probably hear some music, but it's not music that a child wants to hear. So between 4 and 5, they turned on the TV comes on. It's no longer ashy, right? It came on, but there was just one big picture there that does move for about an hour. At 5 o'clock, Sesame Street comes on. So between 5 and 6, Sesame Street, children's hour. So we sit there and play all the Sesame Street games, and then at 6, news and sports and all those boring things would come on. And then at like 9 o'clock, then they have a sitcom, one of the old sitcoms, like Leave It to Beaver or something, or you know what it was? It was like I Dream of Jeannie, or those other ones, the other witch lady. And then you wait until like 10 o'clock for a movie to come on. So the movie comes on at 10, and it ends at like 11:20, 11:30, and then ash again. TV gone blank now for the rest of the day. So for like 18 hours, 15, 16 hours, TV don't worth anything. That's what we had when we were growing up. But what we had mostly was radio. Radio was king of all type of media, radio. Because radio would go right throughout the day. And you had stories on the radio that people would tell stories. I remember Dulcimina with Cyclops and Big Boss or Big Man or something like that. Mr. Big, that kind of thing. And we would sit at the radio at 7 o'clock in the evening to listen to Dulcimina. But TV is not what it is today. I remember back in the 90s, somebody told me that we're going to have 500 channels on cable. And I said, nothing like that. This is in the 90s. So consider what we had in the 60s as television. Television was just in Jamaica, just one channel, JBC, just for a few hours, probably 5 or 6 hours maximum. And so my boyhood takes me, the experience that I have, the love that I have today for TV came out of the love that I have for movies back in the day, television, there's a lot of cowboys. Hey, listen, when I was growing up as a boy, speaking of cowboys, when they finally banned guns in Jamaica, banned the toy guns. Can you believe they banned toy guns? Sure. They banned toy guns. That was the most disappointing thing. They banned toy guns, squibs, what they call pie guns. They banned starlights. All of these things that created Christmas for us were banned, and Christmas was different. But I'll talk about Christmas come in the next video. I enjoy this, and I enjoy speaking to you, and I don't mind if you write back to me and say, hey, Leo, I didn't like it, or I like it. I prefer the like part. Okay? LeoGilling@gmail.com is my email address. LeoGilling@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook. My name is Leo Gilling. All right, have a nice day.